Hi, I'm Norm Abram. Welcome to the New Yankee Workshop and our continuing mini-series on the shop-built kitchen. Now these days the kitchen is more than just a place to prepare a meal. It's a place to dine, a place to entertain, and increasingly it's the nerve center of the home, and that means a TV, a computer, and a phone system. So today we're going to build the office. That's next right here in the New Yankee Workshop. Any office space in a modern kitchen needs a desk, and here's the beginning. A base cabinet, which will have drawers, a top, which we're going to make out of long leaf pine and finish it naturally. That's going to be really nice. And it will fit between a couple wing walls, which we'll talk about later. Under that top, we'll have a knee hole space for a chair to slide into. And right below the top is going to be a very shallow pencil drawer. Another one will be installed here, a small one, a medium one in the middle, and then a nice big drawer for all the files. Now the cabinet, or the base, is a little bit lower than a standard kitchen cabinet. This is 29.5 inches tall. With a 1-inch top, that brings us to 30.5, and that's perfect for a desk. The construction of this base cabinet is just like all the other ones that we've been building for the kitchen. Rabbeted joints, attached with screws and glue, pre-finished plywood on most of it, and on this one we're using pre-primed on this side because this is going to be painted. There is no toe kick. Everything's going to go right to the floor, and we'll run a base around the bottom. The face frame is made with the same techniques we've also shown you before, made out of poplar. You see pocket screws to assemble the joints, biscuit slots to attach it to the carcass, which has a continuous slot to receive the biscuit, just with glue. We don't want to use any mechanical fasteners. Well, there's all the biscuits set in the face frame and glued, and now all I have to do is set it in place and clamp it. Now, if you're wondering why we're not using any nails to attach this, we've found that no matter how well we try to fill those nail holes, that they might show through in the final finish. And that's not acceptable. So this way, no one will know how it's attached, and you won't see any nail holes. Well, while this cooks, let's take a short ride to a friend's house and see where we got the idea for this office. Well, this is a new kitchen, about 2 years old, in a very old house. And as we enter from the dining room, we have a bar area right here with a marble top. Come around to the hot wall where we have the range. We get a closer look at the cabinets themselves. It's an inset door, just like the ones we're doing, a flat panel, very simple, no molding, and a very narrow rail and stile system. Inside, pre-finished material, just like the one we're using, adjustable shelves. Beautiful marble countertop wraps the entire L here. Sink right here, centered on a huge window, which gives a great view to the backyard. And across the way, an island with a butcher block top. And you may recall seeing this project before. This is the island that I built a few years ago in the New Yankee Workshop. At the end, a wine chiller. Across from that, built-in refrigerator, similar to what we're going to be doing in the kitchen we're remaking. And over here, a nice corner nook surrounded by windows that look to the outside with a couple tables for seating. But this is what I wanted you to see, this office area right here. A knee hole with plenty of room for the chair, a pencil drawer, and next to that a couple large drawers, both in this case being used for files. Another piece of marble for the top, a cork board at the back to pin things up, and good distance between the countertop and this shelf unit. The bottom unit is fixed, there's a light built in underneath, one adjustable shelf for all the cookbooks, and everything is built between two cabinets which act like wing walls. Now in today's modern kitchen you're probably going to see one of these. This is a high definition TV as well as a fully functioning computer. There's no tower. Everything's built into the back of the screen, a wireless keyboard, and of course a phone station for the cordless phone. So this is where we got our inspiration. Let's get back to the shop and build some more cabinets. Here in the kitchen we're replacing the office is this roll-top desk. The phone is mounted on the wall and the TV is across the way over here on the bar. One of the problems is that everything sticks out too far. The desk alone is 33 inches off the wall. And you add the chair and you're losing another foot. One of the reasons we've lost so much space is that there's a piece of baseboard right here, baseboard heat behind the desk. That takes up about 3 inches. So if we remove that and find another place for the heating, we gain that. Also, this desk is really much deeper than it needs to be. 30 inches, we can cut that back to about 24. Another thing we want to do is conceal the office from the adjoining rooms. This is the living room. If I look in here, I can see the desk. I'm going to see anything we build, but we can reduce the amount we see by installing some wing walls, one on each side. We could stud them up and plaster them, but it's very difficult to make a transition to the existing plaster walls. So I think what I'm going to do is build them out of wood, then they become part of the system, and I'm not really making them part of the architecture. So let's get started on those walls. So here's what we're thinking of for those wing walls. Here's the base unit clamped against the left-hand wall. The inside of the wall is 1/2 inch MDO, medium density overlay. It's been pre-primed. It's a very smooth surface, so it'll take the final coat of paint very well. Now, I could have built it out of 2x4s, but they don't stay straight, and it's just too wide, too bulky. I want it to be light and strong, so I built it out of 3/4 inch plywood. These are really scraps that were left over from the other cabinets I built. Screwed together and glued solidly to the panel. Now, there'll be another panel on the outside, also glued and attached with a few brads, and the front edge will be finished off with this solid piece with the bead detail, which will soften these corners. Now, something that we thought of just in the nick of time is that we're going to need electric for power and lighting. We're going to need cable, and we're going to need telephone, and we got to get it up in this area. We might want some boxes on each side of the desk for the computer and the power. Up here, right around here, will be the fixed shelf of the open shelf unit, and we have a place for a light to be recessed. I'm going to need power for that, so I can bring a wire through into this void. I've notched out this back piece so the wire can go through here and down. Here's another notch for the desktop devices, and they'll go all the way down and drill a hole right into the basement. How the panels are going to be attached at the house will be with cleats. This one will be screwed to the floor, and then the panel will be screwed to the cleat. There'll be another one at the ceiling, and then there'll be one that will run all the way down the back. Now, this wide piece of plywood, most of it will be for the chase. I've left about 1/2 inch to scribe it to the wall. Now we're ready to build the wing wall that's going to go on the other side. Well, the first thing I want to do is make the notches for the other panel. But before we use any power tools, let's talk about shop safety. Be sure to read, understand, and follow all the safety rules that come with your power tools. Knowing how to use your power tools properly will greatly reduce the risk of personal injury. And remember this, there is no more important safety rule than to wear these safety glasses. I have my dado set up. I'll just plow out the material. Here are all the pieces cut to length, and I'm not going to use any glue because glue doesn't stick very well to this pre-finished plywood, and anyway the skin will hold it all together. I'm going to start with a brad in each one to hold it, and then I'll drill holes for the screws. 2 inch and 5/8 screws in each intersection should do the job. A good bead of glue on all the members, and then I can lay the plywood on it flush with the front edge. I'm using this little cleat as a gauge to control the overhang on the bottom. The table we're assembling the wing wall on is made with a similar technique. It's very strong and lightweight. And here's the other side of the wing wall. All right, now you're starting to see what we're trying to accomplish. Next, let's build up the top. The office is opposite one end of the island. The top for the island is going to be butcher block, and the cabinets for the island are going to be reclaimed heart pine. So we thought it would be a good idea to make the desktop out of some reclaimed pine. Here's some pieces that have been lying around the shop for quite some time. It'll make a beautiful writing surface, and we're not going to bother trying to get rid of these defects. This might have been where a bolt was located, this might have been a nail. We're going to leave those. It's part of the history of these timbers. I've jointed one surface, but now the pieces are all different thicknesses. So to even them up, I'm going to run them through my surface planer. Now my surface planer is a 13-inch width. It has two knives in the cutter head that turn at a high rate of speed. Actually, there's two speeds, one for rough dimensioning and one for final cutting. And it has wheels, rubber wheels, that will pull the stock through. The idea is to blend these boards together so they have a more monolithic look. So I'm looking at the different colors and grain textures. First, though, I want to have a good edge along the front of the desk, and this piece is nice and clear. We'll round that over later, so that's going to be the front edge. The next piece has a defect right here. I'm going to leave that alone because the other side is even worse. Big chunk missing there. And these colors match together pretty well right there. These two match together pretty well. This one has a nail hole. We're going to leave that. We have some sapwood. We're going to let that. It's the natural wood. We want to show it. And the joints have to be refined. They want to be tight. But what I want to end up with is about a 24 3/4 to 25-inch top. So I'll lose some when I straighten the joints, but I think I'm still going to be able to get rid of these checks. So now I want to joint these edges straight and square. Now here I've jointed all the pieces and reassembled them, and I think they look pretty good. I've made some marks so I can cut some biscuit slots which will help align the surfaces. I want to have the surface as smooth as possible after the glue up, because this heart pine, even though it's 200 years old, has a lot of pitch in it, and it really gums up the sandpaper. Now a little bit of glue in each of the biscuit slots, and then I want to roll some on the edges. Just make sure it's covered with a thin coat on both pieces, both edges. Now all the time and effort that I've put into joining the edges and installing these biscuits seem to be paying off. Everything seems almost perfectly flush, so it won't take much sanding to get everything nice and even. All right, we'll set this aside to dry, and before I leave tonight I want to start working on the drawers. I've cut the parts, but I need to do the dovetailing and assemble them. As with all the drawers in this kitchen, the sides are joined to the front with dovetail joinery. It makes a very strong joint. The first drawer I'm going to make is for the filing cabinet area. I've set up the dovetail jig for the right spacing. This is one of the sides with the inside facing out, and I'll route the tails first. Here are the two sides with all the tails routed. I've flipped the fingers over on the jig and installed the front of the drawer box with the inside facing up. That dado in the side piece will receive the back of the drawer box. That groove will be for a 1/2 inch thick bottom. All 4 pieces get that groove. These 2 notches at the bottom of the back of the drawer will receive the drawer runners. Now with all these glue surfaces and the angle of the dovetail cuts, this joint is never going to come apart. The bottom is next, and I'm just going to let that float. Now the back slides into place, and we'll put a couple brads to hold it all together while the glue sets. Okay, we're making good progress on our office. 3 more drawers to go. I should be able to finish those tonight. Tomorrow we'll finish up the top and we'll build the open shelf unit. We should have no problem finishing everything up. Good morning. Mission accomplished. Last night I completed building those drawer boxes, and this morning I got started by removing the clamps from the glue up we did for the desk top. And then I sanded it smooth. And you gotta love this heart pine. It is such beautiful wood. Now I want to round over the front edge of the top. So I've set up this 1/2 round bit in my router table. I have a couple feather boards to hold it tight to the table as I run it through. And I've even taken the time to set up a roller stand. This top is heavy, so I want it well supported. Well, let's see what the top looks like in place. Boy, that's going to be great. A nice big work surface. Now I'm not going to trim the ends until installation. And I do want to put some finish on this sooner rather than later. But right now, I want to start working on the upper cabinet, which is going to be a couple adjustable shelves in a case. There'll be a pocket underneath for some task lighting. Now the shelf is going to be about 56 inches long. And generally, we don't like to build shelves more than 3 feet long, because once you load them up with books, they start to sag. But a few years ago, I did a Greek Revival bookcase, and I had shelves that were about 55 inches, and we solved that problem by doubling up pieces of 3/4 inch plywood, and that makes a very strong shelf. Now the pieces are a little wider and longer than what I need. I'll trim them after the glue dries. Okay, now I can roll this piece over, and I want to move it around a bit, try to spread that glue out and get it as even as possible. And I'll pin it with just a few brads. Let me show you how this upper carcass is going to go together. There are 2 side pieces. We have a bottom shelf held up to conceal a light, which will go right here. Another space for some pigeonholes, very much like that roll-top desk. And there'll be dividers out of 1/4 inch plywood set into some shallow dados. A double shelf for extra strength, that's going to be fixed. We'll have shelf pins, or holes for shelf pins, for the 2 adjustable shelves, and a fixed top shelf. All of these are going to fit into dados and rabbets, which is next. Here's the setup: my miter gauge, a stop block, and my dado. Now I'm making grooves for the partitions between the pigeonholes. And it's not that easy. 1/4 inch plywood is not an exact 1/4 inch. It's slightly under. Here's the setup: a single saw blade. I've already made the first pass, and I've moved the fence slightly further away. The second pass should make the groove perfect. Now I'm going to assemble the piece with glue and screws. And here's a tip. To locate the holes for the screws, I like to drill them from the groove side. That way I can center them. Once they're drilled through, I just flip the piece over and make the countersink. Well, now we're ready for some assembly, some glue in the groove, and this is the bottom of the cubbies. Now the back goes on, more glue and screws. Here I'm plowing out or routing a continuous groove to receive the biscuits. I've cut the dividers for the pigeonholes to size, and they just slip into the grooves we made earlier. Now I don't want to see the core of the plywood, so I've made these little solid maple strips. I'll put a little bit of glue on, and then I'll pin it. I think one pin should do it. Here I've set up my pocket screw jig to drill the pockets for the screws that I'll use to assemble the face frame. Okay, there's the completed face frame. Now we'll secure it to the carcass with biscuits. Now we'll drop it on and clamp it in place. While the face frame cooks, let's put some draw runners in the base. Here's the piece that goes into the cabinet. There's a left and a right. Very heavy duty, will carry a lot of weight. This side gets attached to the cabinet. The draw sits right on top of this bar. It laps over this outside and it engages with this little pin right back here. Now if I push the runner out, you can see a piston come out. And when I push it back in, it engages with the piston and then it pulls it in for that nice soft close. Now this is a filler that brings the side of the case flush with the face frame. I've cut a couple sticks as guide so that it's positioned in the right place. Okay, and that's how I attach it to the carcass. And these slides are very rugged. It's no wonder that they're rated for over 100 pounds. The only thing that I have to do to the draw itself is attach these devices, which actually engage the box with the runners. Simply push it in, engage it, pull it out, full extension, and the soft close. The two top drawers of the base unit are going to get a solid draw front made out of MDF that will get painted. There'll just be a small gap between each one. The bottom one, however, is large enough that we can use our panel design. So I've got rails and stiles that have been grooved, tenons on the rails to fit into the groove of the stiles, and a panel that's been rabbeted also to fit into the groove. Let's glue it up. Now to dress it up a bit, I'm applying a molding. You've seen me make this molding before. It has a bit of an OG profile. I glue it to the side of the rails and stiles and to the panel. And I'll put some pins in as needed to hold it while the glue dries. Well, I think we got where we wanted to be with the kitchen office. And here it is, a place for the office in our dream kitchen. The cabinets are sandwiched between these plywood walls that I built, and it's tied architecturally to the rest of the kitchen with a cornice molding. The upper cabinet is open shelves for display. The pigeonholes are filling up quickly. Plenty of under-cabinet lighting to light the desk top. We've installed a cork board back here to pin up the calendar and notes. Our reclaimed longleaf pine top looks great, and it's been sealed with some polyurethane. Here I think we have the largest pencil drawer in the world, and over here more storage in this side cabinet. We've got connections for phone, cable, and TV, everything you need. Now, wouldn't this be a great place to do your email and watch the new Yankee workshop? Let me tell you what we're going to work on next time. We're going to build an island, and there's a lot going on in the island. It's a place to prepare food. It's a place to dine. We want a spot for trash storage and some tray storage, as well as a spot for the microwave. So join me on the island next time, right here in the New Yankee Workshop.
If you've enjoyed this New Yankee project, you may want to try some of the others. There are projects meant for the workshop, the garden, the kitchen, and many more. So whether you're a fan of shaker style, or colonial, arts and crafts, or Chippendale, there may be a Norm project you'd like to build. Whether it's a clock or a gazebo, a picnic bench or a Windsor chair, a child's toy or a sailboat, visit the New Yankee website at www.newyankee.com for a complete listing.